Alright, so this is the start line for the hill climb here, so take off back there, but the timing loop isn't until we get up ahead where these little banners are. So it's trying to roll good speed through here and just try to prevent wheel spin or any sort of a slide. You can see the loop cut into the seams right there by the hay bales. So at this point, pretty much as soon as I start turning into this arc here, I grab fourth gear, and then shortly thereafter on exit, obviously releasing over to the left here, grab fifth gear, and it's pretty high speed coming into this section. I don't know what it really is, but probably like 120, 125.
Yeah, it's about 120. Yep.
And then just kind of roll off, rub a little bit of brake, and then back to throttle, so you can carry a ton of speed through here. With those new aero improvements, we were carrying 11 miles an hour more than last year through here, so it's super fast section. Back on the gas, heavy, like top of fifth gear coming down into this little braking zone. Same thing here, just a little bit of a rub of the brake, a little bit more aggressive than that previous one, but you can wrap through here, fifth gear, back heavy on the gas, and then you do have to drop down to fourth gear coming up into this next section. It's still super high speed, but pretty decent braking zone. Drop to fourth gear, turn in, you get real close to the curbs through here. So it's kind of tricky. A lot of what you would use is your apex through a lot of this bottom section. There's like those little paved curbs, so you don't want to get too close and clip the splitter or something, because that could be a bad deal. So through here, just running fourth gear again, and try to straighten the car out, get pretty close to the guardrail, and then roll good speed through here, and just trying to straighten it out as much as you can. But especially on the left hand side here, there's that big curb, and I try to get close to it, but not close once again to the fire. I'm going to clip it. And big acceleration off of that, just using up every inch of road that you can, just getting right up next to the dirt here. And then running fourth gear through most of this, just getting burst to full throttle wherever you can, and trying to prevent any wheel spin. At speed especially, it's more noticeable, but as you turn into here, right about where that Yukon is, you saw that little bit of a bump. So right there, that bump's pretty severe. It actually does kind of kick the ass end out a little bit to the left. Pretty decent braking zone here, down to third gear. Big rock on the right that Porsche crashed into a few years ago, so you don't want to be that guy. And then big burst of throttle here. You do get all the way back up to fifth gear, so it's top of third, quickly grab fourth, flat through all this, grab fifth right about here. And then pretty decent hit of the brakes down to fourth. And then I actually then dropped to third just before turn in here as well. But you can run a lot of speed through this corner. It does go back uphill as we come around on the exit. So back heavy on the gas, click fourth gear, and then this is a weird corner coming up because it's kind of deceiving. It looks like it's going to open up, but it actually is like a double apex tightening corner, and it falls off camber on that outer edge a little bit. So I drop down to third gear, kind of keep it mid-track, then release out, and then I've kind of been playing with gearing a little bit here. It's kind of third gear through this portion, keep it over obviously on the left-hand side, drop second gear. I think once we kind of get a little bit more confident with the car, we'll be able to run third gear through all this and just roll a little bit more speed. And then full throttle, grab fourth gear, and then you get pretty good burst of speed coming into this section here, probably over 100 miles an hour. And then this one, just tap of the brake, down to third, flick it in, and then this is going into Engineer's Corner, which is one of the fastest parts of the entire track. So from this spot up to the braking zone, it's pretty much full throttle, a little bit of a breathe on entry here just to kind of get a little bit of front bite, but then it's just back to full gas as soon as you see the end of the guardrail, and then you're just clicking gears until you have to slam on the brakes. So at the braking zone here, it's probably 130, 135 miles an hour, something like that. So super fast through here, right about where that end of the fence is there, that's where I click fifth gear. So there's usually people sitting on these rocks. And then it's a really tricky braking zone because it's kind of deceiving. You can't really see where the turn-in point is. You can't really see where the corner is. You're trying to just straighten this out, and it's pretty far uphill. So you can go to the brakes a lot later than you anticipate, but for some reason, year after year, there's people that just sail it off the edge of the road here. So you got to be really careful. It's not quite as tight of a corner as you think, so you can roll second gear. Try to get to throttle. You can kind of see the road does go off camber on exit there, so trying to accelerate off, it's trying to kind of slide. But you want to get a nice clean run through here because it's then same kind of similar looking corner that leads into Engineers here, leading into Picnic Grounds. You're just flat through all of this, trying to give it as much speed built up as you can. Right here you do have to do a little bit of modulation just because it kind of dances out towards the edge, and you don't want to be all the way on that left hand side. You try to get set up for an entry into the Picnic Ground. But it's top of fourth gear. You can grab fifth there and then do a quick downshift here, but I just tend to wrap out fourth, turn in, and then there's a little bit of a paved runoff on the right-hand side here, so you can click fifth. So there's that time to click fifth. Maybe that's the drainage. But then you can click fifth right about here, and then you're really humming down into braking zone here. It's out of fifth into sixth gear, so basically this is going to be one of the fastest parts of the entire track. So come race day, hopefully we're around 145, 150 miles an hour coming into the braking zone. Looks like maybe that's the loop. Yeah, there's a timing loop there. So that makes sense because it was cutting out a little bit coming into here, so that's why you're probably a little slower. And then heavy on the brakes just before that timing loop. Down 3 gears, third gear. This section here is super fun. You can do a good rhythm. And it was cutting out a little bit kind of intermittently through here.
Okay.
So back to throttle. And then this section is just kind of tricky because, I mean, the road kind of tilts and leans all over the place, and you're never really fully sure what the grip level's like. So it's fifth gear coming into here. I drop fourth gear, try to get nice and close to those hay bales. And then try to accelerate off of this. Obviously, you don't want to drop a tire into that stuff because it'll be a bad day. But wrap out fourth. Can grab fifth here if you need to. And then quickly back down to fourth. Back down to third. And I run third gear all the way through here, and then you're as far left as you can get, basically. Just taking a cut in front of me. What are you doing there, bud? Down to second gear, down to first gear. This is really one of the first tight hairpin corners, so try to just get a nice clean run off, unwind the wheel as quickly as you can, staying on the gas.
How's the rotation through that hairpin?
It's pretty solid. It was, I mean...
Are you having to stand it on the nose all the way down?
Yeah, it's such a weird braking zone. I can't really get it to like stand on the nose and rotate. I kind of just gotta almost diamond it off a little bit.
Okay.
But then super fast through all this. It's like click fourth gear, and then flat through this little bend here, fifth gear, and then big braking zone actually. I can probably roll a little bit more speed through this corner. It's just with the new aero package, it's got a lot more grip than last year, so it's just building that confidence. And only got to really run through here at speed once, but it's third gear, humming pretty quick. And then this next corner is actually kind of intimidating. It can be if you don't know where you're at, but it's like a weird double apex. So you get set up really wide here, turn in, and then you're kind of off throttle, and as soon as you clip this first apex, it's back to full gas, and you just drive it right out towards these 3 tall trees. And you're just like top of third gear all the way through this, and then you can really run a lot of speed. So this corner here, you can kind of play around with the grip level. It just depends on what it's like on any given run. But I tend to kind of like hug the inside a little bit and just get it to rotate nicely here on exit. And then this is actually a big slide coming through this corner on that last run. I kind of snapped the wheel a little bit on entry and gave it a little bit of gas, and I'd catch a slide right there towards that ditch, was a little sketchy. But big speed through here, fourth gear, going into another hairpin. This one you can get it stood on the nose pretty well and get it to rotate. But it's, I mean, that previous braking zone is so tricky because you're kind of like still got a bunch of wheel in it to the left. And then this is, I think it was either this one or the one before where I think it was the previous one actually, where that water started shooting at me last run.
Okay.
Because it's just big, heavy acceleration load here. Yeah, it was previous to this, and then maybe that just water. Who knows? Turning in here, super fast, just flat out or as close to full throttle as you can run through all of this. You don't really want to hit this bump here because it can upset the car, but generally you're kind of mid-track there anyways, trying to get set back up for this. And then it's flat and fourth through here. As soon as you unwind the wheel a little bit, you click fifth, obviously on the left side of the road. And then this is another one of those top speed sections. So it's a bit uphill, so you're not gonna have around like quite the same speed as picnic ground, but it's 6th gear through here. So like right about.
This is where we're missing speed versus last year.
Yeah, for sure. So you're right here, I'll click 6th typically. And then right about where this little bend is here, that's kind of my braking point. So I can probably drive it a little bit deeper into there, but I think my braking point, once you get the speed where we need it to be, is going to be pretty good. And then I've been playing around with 2nd and 1st gear here. I think 1st gear might be overslowing a little bit, so I'm going to try running 2nd, but big acceleration off, you kind of squirm a little bit, get the car back over to the left. This is what they call the ski area. So your 3rd gear coming in, drop 2nd gear, and it's a really, really late apex. The corner tightens up a bunch. Throttle off. There's that video of me last year dipping the tire there. And 3rd, up to 4th. This next one they call rookie's corner because it looks like you're going into the sump, but you're not. So at this point, like I was nervous a couple times that I was going to clip my splitter on that fencing.
Yeah.
So just so far over left there, just opening it up as much as you can down to second gear because it's a really tight corner. And then big acceleration. This is going into the sump. So like the Randy Pope's video where he hucked it off in the GTR, and then last year Don Wickstrom in the Porsche, they got this corner wrong. So it's a big fast entry. You got to get on the brakes pretty heavy, be set up pretty wide. The car was kind of rumbling and grumbling coming into here a little bit, so we weren't at full chat. But down to third gear, and you can just roll a ton of speed. So I kind of do a double apex, clip here, and then unwind, get a little burst of throttle, unwind, and then drop second gear on it, or on the entry to the second portion of the corner here. Turn in, big boost or big hit of throttle. And this looks almost identical to the corner that finishes this section, so it's really critical that you know where you're at on the road. But just rolling good speed through here, big burst of throttle, and then even though this is pretty twisty through here, it's close to full gas. So this one here, I dipped like half a tire one time here, and it kind of squirms the car a little bit, so it's kind of critical to keep it on the pavement. But flat through there all the way up to fourth gear. And last big hairpin for the switch back into where we end the bottom section for qualifying. So obviously all the way on the left, down 3 gears to first gear. And all day long the car was just kind of unhappy here. It didn't really want to accelerate from here all the way to the finish. So I bet we're giving up from here to the timing loop 15 seconds.
Okay, wow.
Because like here it's just grumbling. You can see it looks really, really similar to that previous corner on entry here, a little bit tighter, so you can kind of run a wide line on entry and then stay wide, and then right about here try to do something to get the car to rotate so you can get a good burst of gas across the timing strip. So that's the timing strip for the bottom, that's the qualifying segment. So in theory we should be there in about 3 minutes and 50 seconds. So then this is tricky here because you never actually get to run any of this at speed until race day, so just kind of nursing it through here a little bit. The general consensus is the 2 gaps between the runs, so from the bottom to the middle and then the middle to the top, those 2 gaps are about 30 seconds, which is pretty conservative. But on race day, flick it into here and then you track all the way out to the left. You go on the left side of the guard shack on race day, not the right hand side. This is what they call Glen Cove. Really, really pretty views up here. I don't know how we're going to pit all the trucks and trailers down in there, but we seem to make it work every year.
Yeah.
So another tricky thing come race day coming into this bend here is that you're carrying probably 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour more than you are on practice. So you got to keep that in mind. Gravel usually gets washed out here, and then there's obviously that big rock wall on the left, so you don't want to drift into that ditch and clip that. But big, huge burst of throttle will probably be like top of 5th gear coming into this section here. Call this hairpin George's corner. So down to 2nd gear, it's not quite as tight as you think, and it opens up a little bit on exit. Obviously a big elevation gain as you come off of this corner on the gas heavy. And then this section is going to be super fast with the new aero package, just really clicking through gears, probably up to 5th, maybe even 6th actually. It's going to be quick. And then drop a gear for this right-hander because this does tighten up a little bit. You want to get yourself set up. Then you can swing out into this parking area here. You really don't need to because it does fall off camber a bit. Down 1 more gear. And then falls off camber a little bit on exit here. But usually can catch it pretty well. And this is going into Elk Park, so this is probably, in my opinion, one of the just most visually intimidating corners just because you're killing so fast through here and it's blind and you got the blue sky off on the left. But through this corner, mid-corner speed is probably 115, 120. And then you're just kind of looking for the guardrail. As soon as you can start to see that guardrail is when you start braking pretty much. So just full throttle all the way to this point. See that guardrail now, and then you pretty much just slam on the nose. So really a pretty cool corner. And then from here on up, most of these hairpins are super, super tight. So I don't know what the balance is going to be yet. We haven't run through any of this, but last year the car was pretty good through all this stuff. Obviously we got a bunch of just big acceleration zones, and that's one of that car's strong points, is just accelerating off of stuff. So this is what they call ragged edge. It's kind of doesn't look or it's faster than it looks, so it looks more intimidating, but you do release all the way out to the edge here, right where the guardrail ends. the best of planning. And then super fast through here to get to the top of 5th gear, and up ahead of us you're going to see all the switchbacks. That's what they call the W's leading up to the top. And that one up top where you see the cars going, that's what we can now call Foley's Corner. That's where Jeremy Foley and that Evo hucked it off a few years ago.
Which, this next one coming up?
No, up at the top of that whole hill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he tumbled all the way down to like middle of where the snow is.
Okay.
It was vicious.
Yeah, that was bad.
So this corner here is pretty gnarly actually, because you're coming in here super, super fast, and you can see just the pavement slanted way left, so way off camber. The car wants to slide towards that ditch, so especially if you're on used up rubber, you just got to be super, super cautious here. And then you're kind of just like figuring out where the brake threshold is, dropping down all the way to 1st gear. And this is, next corner is what they call double cut. I don't know why they call it that, but really cool spot to take photos. Those rocks and stuff up there make for a really cool shot. But all the way on the left side of the road and entry, it's similar to the one down there where it isn't quite as tight as it looks, and there's a lot of paved runoff on the left hand side as you accelerate off. So you can actually roll a lot more speed through here than you think and get to throttle a lot sooner than you think, because pretty much from this point on you're unwinding the wheel. You got that paved runoff right there that you can kind of utilize to grunt off the corner. Everybody kind of has their own way of visualizing or preparing a mental image for the W's, but this is really what I consider the start of the W's. So tight hairpin, and then the sequence there is going to be long, medium, short. So it's a long, really fast straightaway to the first hairpin, a medium one to the second, and then a short one into the final one. So this corner here, super, super fast, full throttle. Once again, pretty visually intimidating, but as long as you know where you're going and you kind of keep your eyes looking ahead, you're going to be all right. But the car, if it picks up a push here, starts to get loose, you can really find yourself in trouble. There's a crazy photo of a FRS a couple years ago with both rear tires hanging off pretty much the entire cliff there.
Yeah.
So pretty nuts, really steep cliff obviously on the left. Not a good spot to have an issue. But it'll be 5th gear going into here, and really the trickiest part for this section is just trying to figure out where the brake zones are, because I mean it's a super steep grade going uphill, so you can drive so much deeper into the braking zones than you realize, but it's just hard to force yourself to do that because you are going super fast. I mean, coming into here will probably be 120, 125. Super tight hairpin, so that's the long sequence for the W's. This next one's the medium one. So you'll see this looks almost identical as going into Foley's Corner. So really I think that's what happened when Jeremy threw it off the road there, is he just got lost as to where he was at mentally. So it looks like this is going to be Foley's Corner, but this is actually going to then open up to a little bit of a straightaway into another one of those hairpins. Which if you see that guardrail, that's how you know. So not quite as steep of a grade here as the previous one, but still you can drive it in here a lot deeper than you realize. You don't want to turn in early because it'll just rip the splitter off the car. And then this is the short acceleration zone, so you get up to probably, I mean definitely 4th gear, but probably just tickle in 4th gear here. Because as soon as you get past these rocks, there's a guardrail. So that's kind of the consensus. If you see that guardrail, you're pretty much starting to get on the brakes. But as we get a little bit farther into race week, hopefully there's some guys locking up tires and leaving some reference points. Spencer Steele in an IndyCar a few years ago had a really sketchy moment where he lost brakes and got stuck under the guardrail here.
I remember that.
That was gnarly. And that's actually the summit way over there that we saw. So then this is going into Foley's Corner. So as you see, I mean, it looks really similar to that entry to that hairpin down over there, but rather than going into a hairpin, it's a kind of decreasing radius, tighten up corner, but this is where that Evo drove off the side of the cliff. So super, super steep. Well, you're 3rd gear through here, but yeah, not where you want to go. And then through here, just kind of getting nice and close to the dirt, tickling the dirt almost with the right front. Full throttle through all this. Probably get up to, probably close to 5th gear. Once again, it'll be a little bit different this year, different levels of drag and stuff, but I think it'll be close to 5th gear. Big heavy braking zone, and then this is going into 16 Mile or Devil's Playground, so happy this is where you guys are going to be camped out at. Always snow here, pretty much no matter what time of year it is. There's a little bit of snow on the wall. And then this will be the end of the timing loop for the second segment, right in here somewhere, right where those hay bales are, yeah. So accelerate up all the way to this point, and slam on the brakes. And this is probably one of my favorite spots in the whole mountain up here, especially watching the sunrise from up here. And
Yeah.
it's something special for sure. And then really cool vantage point. Obviously we can't really pull over there, but if you go to where these cars are parked, you can see a lot of those switchbacks and stuff that we drove through from pretty much that little guard track at Glen Cove all the way up to this point. So we're gonna have to do some talking here. So you can see, I mean, they've been using this a lot for the shuttle vans and stuff, so just tons of dirt and crap on the road up here. But this is gonna be interesting to see what the road looks like from here to the top, just because it is rumored to be devastatingly bumpy. But come race day, it's almost flat through this corner, top of 5th gear, grab 6th on exit. I have to slow down, they're gonna get after me. But just really cool corners up here. The first little bit isn't really too bad as far as the bumps go, but once you get into Bottomless Pit, which is gonna be this next right-hander that we come into at the bottom of this hill, there's a huge bump there, pretty much right at the apex. And then from Boulder Park up is just supposedly a whoop section. So 5th gear through all of this. A little bit of a dip in the road right there, you can see right here. But we'll be all the way on the left-hand side, and then huge bump, I can already see it, it's massive.
Yeah.
But it looks like it, oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's
Wow,
gonna
that's
just
bad.
rip the splitter off the car. So we'll have
It
to
looks like it's not as
adjust the
bad if
line.
you're further to the
Yeah,
left. Like
so
you almost
set
need
up
to
a
be
lot
outside
from
the
the
white line
light
over
apex
there.
it.
Yeah.
But that's been an issue for the past handful of years. And accelerate up. This corner looks kind of similar to the entry into the Bottomless Pit section. This is probably a 4th gear corner once we get comfortable with the aero package. Running a lot of speed, and then it kind of tightens up a little bit, bends back to the right. Probably a 3rd gear corner, maybe 4th. Big bump right here, yep, so I'll probably be on the left side of the road there. Hit the brakes, and then this corner is, it's cool, it just kind of gradually unwinds here, and then it's super intimidating because it feels like the front end's just going to wash out, and you see this just field of boulders over here on the right hand side. But you can roll a ton of speed through here. It's going to be 5th gear without a doubt. And then huge burst of gas, maybe even click 6th gear. There's a big bump right there. It's not ideal. Right here's a big one. Down to 5th. A little bit of a bump right here.
There too.
That shouldn't be too bad. Then hairpin, it'll probably be a 2nd gear corner rather than 1st gear. There's a bump there, but it's not going to be an issue. It's on the wrong side of the road. A little bit of a bump as you cross over the 2 lanes. This next corner, my first year up here in 2019, always kind of caught me off guard because it looks kind of similar to that previous one, but it tightens up a bunch. So you got to get on the brakes early, and then just know that the road's going to keep tightening and tightening and tightening. I actually dropped the tire here in 2019. It was super sketchy.
Big bumps
Super
there.
bumpy through there. And this is what they call Boulder Park now. So this is really from here up to where it's going to get really rough. So you already see a huge dip here. It's going to probably catch the splitter. Another dip there. Looks like I want to be on the right hand side of the road and then kind of swerve over to set up. Big dip right in the middle here. Another big dip there. Just full whoops through here. Jesus.
Like hit that diagonal.
Yeah.
God damn.
So right here is where the steering started feeling wonky last year. And then I was like, all right, I'm just gonna, like up where that school bus is, I was gonna plan on stopping there. So I rolled out of the gas. We're starting to slow down, and then as soon as I turned into this next right-hander, that's when the steering wheel just snapped and freewheeled. So that big boulder is what we crashed into. There were scuff marks pretty high up on that boulder from where get hit, but it's like they're kind of going, oh, you can still see a
No,
little
you can
bit.
still see.
So that's where we made
Should
it
go
to last
sign
year.
that boulder.
We should. Pop your ears. Looks like I'm going to be on the left side of the road here.
Yeah,
This looks like a freaking jump.
This is gonna be ridiculous.
Oh my god. That's scary in the enclave at 50.
You have to like land from that.
Yeah.
Nail the brakes.
Braking zone down to third. Big, yeah, you want to be on the inside of the road here.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Jesus. Left side of the road. Maybe, I don't know, there's a big dip there too. Yeah. I don't even, maybe middle of the road, straddle the yellow line.
Yeah.
Holy Christ. Definitely
I
left
think
side of the road
yeah,
here,
left side
middle.
there.
You can see everybody
Still left side over here.
And then this braking zone is super hard to judge when it's not a whoop section, so it's going to be just a throwaway. No point in trying to push it. Oh my god.
All the way to the inside that
yeah.
whole corner.
Nowhere, not even a good line anywhere up there. And then these bumps right here is where he broke the stub shaft last year. So I'll probably, yeah, right here. So I'll just be off throttle. And then this corner here, I mean, you can roll a lot of speed through here, more than you would think, but at this point you're 3/4 of half a mile from the finish line, so really no point, not even half a mile, probably a 1/4 mile from the finish line. So no point in really trying to take any chances. Super intimidating visually, really bumpy. So as soon as you see this guardrail, you're pretty much home free. Big hit of the brakes down to first gear. Big dip on the left there, so it's just warped like crazy through here. But super dirty as well.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna
it's
say.
pretty much just take what you can get. Somebody smacked that guardrail. Jesus. And then through here, this has always been pretty rough. This is the last corner before the finish line. So big heaves and dips. And 2019, I got through that bump right there, which wasn't even as bad as it is now. And the back end stepped out, I had to chase it all the way through here. And you can see there's just gravel and crap everywhere. And then right there where these hay bales are, this is the finish. This is where we need to be. And then as soon as you cross the finish line, it's a crapshoot. Just nightmare.